Welcome to my Days of Our Lives official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Leo has a tale to tell. J. At the Brady pub, Ava poured a mug of coffee and saluted Roman. She asked him about her parcel operation. Roman informed her it had been denied. Ava indicted Roman of holding a particular grudge, but he claimed the denial was because Ava did not have a job or an income. Ava challenged Roman to take the help wanted sign down. Roman was incredulous that Ava wanted him to hire her. She reminded him of what she had done with the bistro and knew she could do the same thing for the cantina. Either, Ava added, Roman demanded the help and demanded competent workers. Roman conceded and agreed to give Ava 1 week to prove herself. They shook on it. Harris ran into Marlena outside the cantina. She smiled and inquired how he'd been doing with his recovery. Harris verified he was doing great and credited his amazing croakers, who included Marlena. She assumed that meant he viewed his time at Bayview as a success. He assured her he did, but was curious as to why Marlena was asking. He flashed back how John had peppered him with questions about Bayview, as well, and asked Marlena if John was each right. Marlena allowed. John would be okay with time. Ava came outdoors, and Marlena and she changed brief salutes before Marlena excused herself. When Ava told Harris she had been denied the room, he was worried. His mood changed after Ava streamlined him on the job. They agreed effects were going well, so long as they didn't get fractured for breaking into the bistro. Roman noticed Marlena sitting alone at a table and asked how she was doing. She had been staying for John to finish a meeting. Taking stock of her worried look, Roman encouraged her to discharge her problems on him, since he was her bartender, and that was part of the job description. Marlena claimed she had been bothered about Eric and Sloane, but Roman believed there was commodity further. Marlena opened up about her recent worries with John. She disregarded about how John had always told her his life had begun when he would met her in the sanitarium and their hands had touched. She rued not being suitable to help John uncover further of his history. Marlena got a textbook communication and prepared to leave. Roman assured her he'd watch out for Eric, and he said Marlena should put her focus on John. Marlena thanked him and left. At the DiMera manse, Kristen was working on getting Lee's education set up when Stefan stormed in. He demanded an update on Kristen's plan to get Gabby out of captivity and reminded Kristen that Gabby demanded to be out of jail before the DiMera board meeting. Kristen wondered exactly how Stefan planned to make Kristen CEO. Stefan was confident he could make it be because he knew a secret. Stefan shocked Kristen by passing Fate. J. had known about the medicine operation at the bistro. Stefan asked Kristen to consider how Nicole would reply if she set up Audi. J. could have averted Holly's overdose. Kristen guessed that Stefan wanted her to blackmail J, but she allowed. It wouldn't work because J would prioritize the company over Nicole. Stefan, on the other hand, believed J loved Nicole devotedly and passionately and would choose his marriage. Stefan assured Kristen he was not putting all my eggs in the blackmail handbasket and mentioned he was also working his connections with the DiMera board. Kristen affirmed that she was doing the same and brought up the education in Lee's name. Stefan allowed. It was a good idea, and Kristen and he tossed around other ideas for ousting J, including shining a light on J's conflicts of interest. They were festive at the notion of J being left with nothing after they were done with him. Kristen advised Stefan that she'd not be his puppet and would not let Gabby take her place at DiMera. Formerly Gabby was released. Stefan claimed that was not the plan, and he reminded Kristen that getting Gabby out of captivity was his precedence. He allowed. The substantiation was piled against a release, still. Kristen raved that Stefan should trust her because, I always have a card up my sleeve. Rita entered J's office and told him she was leaving for a regale date. She was lower than enthused. J said he demanded her to stay late. J Tried to blarney her by promising she'd not be too late. She suffed and called E.J. a hard burrow. E.J. wanted his usual for regale, which Rita cracked was stuffed shirt rather of stuffed shells. She groused son of a before to a beaming E.J. and left to get them regale. When Rita returned, E.J. streamlined her on the information he demanded from Titan. She had one question for him: what in God's name are you up to, youthful man? E.J. acted offended at the youthful man crack, and Rita riposted that if she had known him when he would been a youthful man, she'd have tutored him mores. She prompted E.J. to check his Homeric intentions. Butte.J. believed he should strike at a weak Titan while the iron is hot. Rita wondered why J. should end his dreams at deposing the mayor and taking over Titan. She suggested he buy a baseball platoon and populate the moon, too, while he was at it. J. smiled but grew serious and thanked Rita for looking out for him as she had for his father. I miss that old scapegoat, Rita conceded as she grew wistful. Do not we all? E.J. added. Harris and Ava successfully broke into the bistro. They agreed to divide searching duties, since Ava claimed they had many hours before any workers arrived. They met back up sometime latterly and reported no progress on any front. Suddenly, the room lit up, and the brace was shocked to see Stefan. He snarkily asked Harris if breaking and entering was part of Harris's academe training, and guessed Harris and the Cabal Queen were over to commodity. Harris reluctantly acceded while Ava streamlined Stefan about Clyde's rearmost trouble. Stefan offered to help because he wanted the black book and that son of a wine Clyde out of his eatery and his life for good. As the triad searched, Harris theorized that Clyde's henchman had hidden the book in plain sight. Ava had an epiphany about the reserve wine that no bone had ever touched because it was precious. Ava recaptured a specific bottle that hadn't collected dust. She took off a false bottom and removed the black book. After Stefan left, Kristen called Alex about a reprise of their strategy meeting. She ended the call when J. arrived. J. had heard all about Alex's recent stay from the Tatling staff. He wondered if Kristen was satisfied with her life of rest and mischief making or if she was interested in getting a job. Kristen inferred she had many irons in the fire and reminded J. that, like father, I always rise from the ashes. Leo was drowning his sorrows at a bar when Sloane approached him. They traded cuts about looking terrible before Sloane asked why Leo was drinking. She assumed he was dejected because of the plutocrat cut off, but he told her about the Dear Leo letter he'd entered from Dimitri. Sloane was surprised and wondered if the letter was really from Dimitri. Leo was certain Dimitri had written it, since Dimitri had used Leo's pet name for him in the letter. Sloane told Leo she was sorry, and he fired back that she should be, because it was her fault. Sloane was confused at the blameworthiness, so Leo told her how my Romeo left me for some big, funky con who presumably makes license plates and eats paste. Leo believed it was Sloane's fault Dimitri had ended up in Supermax to begin with. Leo lamented how his life was indeed worse, because he'd to live on an intelligencer's payment due to Sloane. He groaned that he'd be relegated to entwining up in a ball on his peacock-decorated chaise in Argentine sweatpants. Sloane prompted Leo to get his proceedances straight and to stop obsessing about his wardrobe. He defended himself and claimed he was much more worried about losing Dimitri. He'd stood by Dimitri through everything and had indeed remained faithful, to his own amazement. He should have prognosticated Dimitri would be a cheating pile of proletariat, however, after Dimitri had cheated on Leo's stylish friend with Leo. As Leo continued his rant, Sloane rolled her eyes. Sloane tossed a hanky to a tearful Leo and tried to tell him he was better off without Dimitri. Leo snapped for her to stop buttering him up and called Sloane foolish for allowing Eric to find out about her and Leo's arrangement. Sloane lost it and smelled back at Leo that the cash cow has run dry.